And so I was able to bring that to my students, and they were always like, well, do I agree with this? I'm like, I don't know. Do you?
Welcome to Innovation Springs. I'm your host, Hayley Blackburn, Innovation and Design Librarian, Program Director in C3 Innovation, and affiliate faculty with the Center for Research Frontiers in Digital Humanities. Now, this show spotlights the folks doing cool things across education, research, business, and thought leadership. Today's guest is actually a part 2 from a prior interview, where this time we get much more into philosophy research around war, conflict, and just human ethics and morality. You can find more information and notes about the show at c3innovation.uccs.edu. Let's dive into the spring.
I'm Dr. Jen Kling. I'm an associate professor of philosophy and department chair and director of the Center for Legal Studies and the co-director of the Center for Research Frontiers in the Digital Humanities and the coach of the UCCS Ethics Bowl team. So I started as the Hotel Bar Sessions co-host this fall, which is exciting.
Right, a lot of new stuff this fall.
I know, this fall has been the season of change. Everybody should listen to Hotel Bar Sessions, please.
Definitely.
And so the conceit of the podcast is all of the good philosophy happens at the hotel bar after the conference. So if you've ever been to an academic conference, we do a whole day of panels and lectures and discussion, and then everybody goes to the hotel bar, and that's where things get real. Yeah. Right? Everybody goes, right?
Yeah. They're like, cool, I did my talk, now let's talk.
Yeah, I was so good all day. Now I need to know, what did you mean? Right?
Right, I love that.
And so that's where the name comes from.
So you're talking about play and how you kind of feel like the podcast really captures that essence of play when it comes to philosophy. I definitely agree. The episodes that I've listened to, I really appreciated how it is a lot of back and forth across, yourself and your other co-hosts. And you kind of sometimes there's a little bit of tension as you disagree a bit, but then it always sort of circles back around to a new kind of place of co-constructed understanding, which I think is really, really interesting. I was listening on the drive up to Fort Collins with my spouse to visit his family, and we listened to the one on therapy.
Yes.
And that then sparked us to kind of have a interesting play-based conversation. And
that's so good. That's the goal.
Okay, what are we gonna think about that? So that was one of my favorite episodes to listen to that created then a new, relational building core memory. What is your favorite episode you've recorded so far, or conversation that you just walked away being wow, I'm so glad I was part of that conversation?
Yeah. So I'm really glad that you listened. Thank you. And I'm so glad that happened, because that's exactly the goal.
Yeah.
Is to get folks, thinking about something you might not have even thought about before, and then you're like, I've got thoughts.
Yeah.
Let me talk about those thoughts with another person and keep the dialogue going, because philosophy, again, it's all about dialogue. It's all about conversation. So I'm glad. I really actually enjoyed the therapy episode.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lot of disagreements, especially at the beginning, and we had all come around.
We were not on the same side. Yeah.
Semi-middle ground, but yeah.
For sure. So actually one of my favorite episodes that we've done so far is the episode we did on quiet resistance with Tamara Fakhri, who is a philosopher at the University of Minnesota who writes about quiet resistance, which is a kind of resistance that's different from protest, and it's different from revolution, and it's different from complicity. Yeah. She's arguing that there's another kind of way people can resist oppression and domination that mostly Western philosophers have missed.
Okay, yeah.
Which I think is really cool. And so she came on the podcast, and we talked about her article and tried to understand this concept of quiet resistance, which is not a common concept in liberal democratic theory. And I really enjoyed that. And I thought that was so cool to hear about, especially because these are issues that I work on, to hear about something so different and yet so immediately relatable.
Yeah.
When she talks about it. So quiet resistance is when you resist oppression, you do something, like you do an activity that's restricted, or you're not allowed to do it because you're a member of an oppressed class.
Yeah.
But you do it because you love it. You don't do it because it's resisting the oppression. So the example she gives is the Palestinian Rock Climbing Club.
Okay.
So there are Palestinians who have started a rock climbing club. Now, Palestinian movement, as we know, is exceptionally restricted. It's almost impossible for this rock climbing group to get to the crags and climb.
Okay.
And they do it anyway.
Yeah.
And they've been interviewed, right? Folks say, why do you do this? It's so dangerous, and you can really get hurt or even killed or imprisoned because by trying to move through these very restricted spaces to get to the mountains.
Yeah.
And they say, I'm a rock climber. I love rock climbing. You're not, like, sure, they can try to stop us, but this is what I adore doing. This brings meaning to my life. I'm going to do it. I'm a human. I get to do things that I love.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like resistance through, like, live your life.
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
way, like finding, or I guess it sounds like it's not necessarily the intention of resisting that makes it the quiet resistance, but in just living your life,
doing the thing.
being a human, doing the things that like bring joy, then you kind of become a resisted force.
You're resisting, right? The social meaning of your action
Yeah.
is to resist oppression, even though you don't set out to resist oppression.
Yeah.
And Tamara argues this is a whole category of activity that you can do that Western philosophers just miss.
Interesting.
Because we only think about really public protests, right? We tend to think about things like civil disobedience or protest or revolution. And she says, there's this other thing you can do. You can love things.
Right.
And I just think that it was such a cool conversation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
So
have not
I
listened
loved
to
that
that episode yet, but now it is on my immediate, like, TBR, TBL, I guess. Y'all should listen.
Please, yeah. It was such a cool discussion because it was what was cool about it was it's such an as soon as she explains the concept, you're like, oh, I can think of 6 examples. But before she explains the concept, you're like, what is this? I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah.
Right, kind of like my immediate kind of ding, which it's obviously not this at all, but I went to this term of like slacktivism. That we get in like media studies a lot, where it's like, oh, I posted, and it's like my quiet resistance. He like posted the black square, and it's like,
yeah, and this is the core of philosophy. Like this is philosophy at its best, I think. Is it gives you a way of looking at the world that you didn't even know was possible. Like you didn't even know you were missing it, but then she gives this category and these examples and this way of thinking, and you're like, oh, my entire view of the world just changed. That's so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, thank you. I'm like walking away now.
Yeah, I know. You have a whole new way to think about your life.
So, yeah. I love that. Oh, well. Let's talk about some of your own like research projects, moments that you maybe shifted your own paradigm and opened up your own world. Are there any? Or
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I know you have some. So what is? Try to pick one, maybe recent project or a class, way that you taught your class. We talked a bit about your teaching before that you tried recently or that you're working through that you really feel like is, wow, this is innovative for maybe philosophy or for your own research practice. Tell me something that you're working on.
Sure. So I have 2 things. I can talk about one research thing and then one teaching thing, if you want.
Love it.
So a research thing that I'm working on is it's sort of interesting. So the title of it is From Foxholes to Computer Consoles.
Okay, love a little rhyme.
So good title.
And then colon.
Yeah, right. So I'm actually not doing the colon thing. There's my innovation. I'm not doing a colon.
Immediately,
that's a moment
my expectation.
So that's a moment in the academy to not do a colon. But I'm not. Okay. But the project is about how in the United States, so it's United States focused, and it says we have a social imaginary of war.
Okay.
What does that mean? What that means is when I say to you, think about war, you are going to think about men in a foxhole, probably fighting back and forth, right, along a designated field of battle, right? You have a very particular mental image.
Yeah.
That's our social imaginary. It's how we as a society imagine war happens.
Right.
Okay, that's awesome. You are most likely to be protected in your life by somebody sitting at a computer console. who has never been in a foxhole, who's never been in a like physical designated space of battle, right? They're in Nevada, or they're at Peterson Air Force Base, or they're at Cheyenne Mountain, and they are protecting you through technology.
Right.
But we don't give medals of honor to the folks at the computer consoles because that's not part of our social imaginary of war. And so this is my project, is saying, you know, what does it mean that really our defense has shifted from foxholes to computer consoles, and yet our public social imaginary hasn't kept up?
Yeah.
Because if you talk to folks who are in the military, they'll say, oh yeah, right, most of my work is at a computer. Of course it is. But if you talk to a civilian, like their mental image,
they'll go back to
right, they'll go back to the foxholes and the guns and the and of course that's part of it. Not meaning to denigrate that at all.
Absolutely,
or say it doesn't exist. Yes, absolutely.
Boots on the ground that are in active danger in combat in that way.
Yeah, command and control is a big part of it, but it's not actually the dominant protective force. And so I think that does something. It does something really strange to us if what we are imagining is not real. Right? Or is not the dominant paradigm. And so I think we need to recognize that the world of warfare now is technologically interconnected in a way that it was not before. And if we don't, and my argument, because I'm a philosopher, I have an argument, my argument is that if we don't pay attention to that, we're going to miss really important aspects of what it means to be engaged in defensive warfare and defensive protection. So that's my research project.
Okay, that is really interesting. Research project. Now it's got me like thinking about, you know, from the media perspective side, it's like a huge source of where our public imagination for a lot of things.
Right. You've not seen a war movie that's a bunch of people sitting at computers.
No, not really.
Because it's not interesting.
Not really.
Imagine the Hurt
Or
Locker.
if we do, it's more of in the like a sci-fi type. This is not reality.
Hacker lens.
Kind of way and lens, and and then the other side, when you first actually mentioned it, and maybe this is part of like generational imagination knowledge as well. But I actually first imagined the like shock and awe of Iraq, and like, but that was because I saw it in the news,
you saw
and
the
media
images,
and
that's right.
So I still think like, oh, explosions. But what was, now I'm thinking more about it, sort of rendered invisible even in my remembering and imagining of that is, okay, I saw the physical, the bombs, the explosion, but it's like, wait, how did those bombs and explosions happen?
How did they get there?
The drones, like it wasn't,
that's right.
Cannon launching or whatever.
But that's right. And who's controlling the drones, right? That's folks in Nevada. Exactly.
Interesting.
So so that's the project.
Okay. Right? Wow.
See, and as soon as you start thinking about it, you're like, oh, how is it? And you start to deconstruct where your own public social imaginary comes from, right? And then you can ask this question about, why do we tell particular military stories and not others? Because we do. There's a very specific set of images, of stories, right? Of ways you think about it. And there's a very particular set that is left out.
I feel like the other set now, I'm like trying to think through more modern like military films that I've seen. And I think the next biggest category, if it's not like World War II or like an
World
older
War II is the big one.
Is like snipers, or like kind of the more story of like the lone,
right? The lone gunman.
Right?
The lone hero. That's a story we know how to tell. We struggle to tell the story about the team of 20 networked, right? Who's working to turn off the lights in a city halfway across the world to make it safe to get Americans through the city without getting attacked.
Oh my gosh.
But
interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So that impactful.
So that's the
interesting.
Research.
Like very modern project.
Yes, and deeply, as you can see, invested in technology and in thinking about, right? So old school questions, new school discussions.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited to see, as
we'll see how it develops.
So you said you had one other project you were really excited about. What was that?
So this is my teaching project. So a very common thing, you'll hear folks say this. I have said this for many years. A lot of humanities folks teach writing, and as a philosopher, I teach writing. Because we will say writing is thinking. You learn how to write. Why do we make you write so much? Because it helps you think. I'm trying, don't come at me, okay? I'm trying an innovative pedagogy project where I'm saying, okay, writing is thinking, but not only writing is thinking.
Yes.
So I'm doing a project, it's called Make It Make Sense.
Okay.
I
Love
know,
that.
I
Yeah.
know. I love a catchy title.
I mean,
It's
we need a
really
little
that.
whimsy in our life.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Like, we're all very small dots in a very big world. You got to do what's going to make you happy. And
Quiet
so,
resistance.
exactly, see? But yeah, so Make It Make Sense is it's an assignment design that uses the principles of public communication theory. And so what I say to students is, okay, we just learned this philosophical argument or this position or this history. Now I want you to think about public communication theory. How do you convince somebody else outside of this room, outside of academia, to care about this,
Okay.
to be interested, right? So we talk about the principles of public communication, right? You've got to be engaging, right? You've got to speak at their level. You've got to connect it to something they care about, right? It's got to be deeply relevant. And then I say, okay, you need to convince me to care about Descartes' evil demon argument.
Okay.
And they say, well, what should I do? And I say, whatever you think.
Yeah.
Right? So you can write a paper if you believe an academic paper is is the best way to convince me of something. Make it make sense. Why are you studying this?
Okay.
Right? The background question of the assignment design is, if you go home, right, and you're the adult in your life says, why am I sending you to college? You're doing philosophy. Okay, make it make sense to that person.
Yeah.
Is it an academic paper? Is that what's going to convince them?
Right.
Unlikely. But one of my students wrote a graphic novel about Descartes' evil demon argument. And I was like,
very cool. Okay.
this
Love
is
that.
fantastic.
Yeah. Like
right?
engaging
Or
so many different types of processing as well. And so I'm sure your student really understood it more themselves by creating something that actually in many ways is like more in depth and, just requires drawing on even more diverse skill sets to enact.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's interesting because I'll get students who say, oh, but this is hard. I know how to write a paper.
Yeah.
And I say, I know you know how to write a paper. So you don't have to show me again. I want you to learn something new.
Do the hard thing.
Exactly. The new skill is make it make sense to the folks outside of the academy why it's important to study medieval philosophy or classical Chinese philosophy, or metaphysics of possible worlds, right? Make it make sense. And you can do whatever you can think of. So it's really cool. I've had students do, I mentioned graphic novels. I've had students do art. I had a student do a dance piece.
Oh, interesting.
They were a VAPA student, and they said, my major is dance. Can I compose a dance piece? Yes, please compose a dance piece. It was brilliant. I've had students do podcast episodes.
Can't be mad at that.
Yeah. So it's been amazing. And what was interesting for me was to move away from that writing model, which is how I was trained.
Yeah.
But then also be really open to figuring out how to assess these assignments, according to the principles of did we make it make sense?
Yeah.
Did we do the thing?
Oh my gosh, that is a very innovative assignment.
I think so.
Kind of like
it's really
way to
great.
set it up. That's really cool.
That's really fun.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, you're clearly making a big impact, like on our campus, in your classrooms, and then globally with your podcast as well.
I hope so. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's bring it back as we kind of wrap up to our UCCS kind of community.
Yeah.
What would you like to see maybe evolve about our community, and what do you really love about UCCS?
Yeah. So I came to UCCS on purpose.
Okay.
Because so I'm here on purpose.
You wanted it.
I did actually. So I love how UCCS has so many people doing so many different things, and they're so willing to engage with you and like work together to do cool stuff. Right? So it's really nifty. Whenever I reach out to anyone and I'm like, hey, do you want to try this? They're like, yes. How do we make it happen? I'm like, I don't know, but we'll figure it out, and then usually we do, right? It's a little bit of a shoestring sometimes, but there's sometimes, but there's so much willingness to try something and engage, right? The students are amazing. They're willing to go with you. As I mentioned, I told my students we were doing something a little experimental this semester. I didn't have any student be like, "Oh, I don't want to do it." All of my students were like, "Yeah, all right, like let's
Yes, I
play,"
love that.
you know. And so I think everybody's so engaged, and I just love that. I love where I can walk down the hall and be like, "Hey, friend, you have this expertise that I don't have. You want to
Yeah.
get together?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And so I love that. It's my favorite thing about UCCS.
I do. I agree. That is nice. I think we are in a really nice middle ground of we are small enough to where
Mm-hmm.
we actually can develop community. Like whenever
Yeah.
I go to events, earlier I was at Mountain Lion Research Day, and I
Mm-hmm.
saw a
Yeah.
dozen people that I know, and it's not just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
in passing. Like I actually know what they're
Yeah.
working on, and can have real conversations with.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we're small enough to feel like a real community, but just big enough to where we can make some things happen. I
Yeah.
think so.
Right. And that's so cool. I mean, we have world class educators and researchers here.
Yeah.
And so we have the firepower.
Yeah.
And then we have students who I think are so engaged and so willing to go with us, and we have world class students, and that's a really cool combination.
Definitely.
So,
But even
yeah.
amazing things, in the spirit of innovation,
Yeah.
even good things can have elements that maybe we can iterate, adjust, improve, not just to make it new, but to make
Of
it
course.
better.
Yes.
Is
Always.
there,
Always. Always.
anything that you would love to see continue to like evolve for our future?
Yeah. I So I would love to see UCCS really lean into being the only R2 institution in the state, which
Oh,
I think is,
even I didn't know
yeah,
I knew we were in R2. I
right.
knew we were in like southern Colorado, but
Yeah.
so everyone
So,
else is what, R1
or
or
not,
not.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So Boulder is our R1,
Yeah.
and they're doing their thing.
Right.
That's awesome. We love them. But I think like as a regional research comprehensive university,
Yeah.
that's such a cool identity. That's
Yeah.
such a cool thing that we are, because we serve all of Southern Colorado, and we're doing research, and we're a space where students can do innovative research
Yeah.
and learn directly from people who are doing the kinds of experiments where we're like, is that going to work? We're like, I don't know, but we're about to
Let's
find out. Right?
Yeah. We support you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, is a podcast going to work? Is the Digital Humanities Center gonna come up with something new? I don't know. Come with me on this journey.
Yeah.
Let's figure something out. And I think that is an identity that we have that I would love to see us lean into, because I think there's so much power there. There's so much strength there.
Yeah.
And so that I would just love to see that, because I think we could grab that with both hands and run with it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I really haven't thought about that element of our
Yeah.
kind of identity that much. Until now, and
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. Like the R2, it's enough to have research and projects and like production in that
Mhm.
way, but R2 still means that teaching is
But our teaching is
really
still done,
important. Like
and our teaching
still
is still done by
a key.
professors,
Yeah.
right? Which I think that's what I love about being in an art. Again, I came here on purpose,
Okay.
because in R1, a lot of the professors are doing research,
Yeah.
and then a lot of the teaching is done by graduate students, which are amazing. Graduate students are amazing. Don't come at
Right.
me. They're amazing. But I think it's different. I think it's qualitatively different when you have someone in the classroom who's teaching about a topic that they've been studying and researching intensely for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they're at the cutting edge of the field.
Yeah.
So I just taught a class. This is where I came from, and we were working on an article that literally came out 2 years ago.
Okay. Wow.
Right, which in academic
Recent.
land
That's
is very
like
recent,
hot
right?
off the press.
Exactly, that just came out, right? And I knew about that article because I work in this space,
Yeah.
and I'm doing active research, and so I was able to say, this article is answering a question my students have had for years. The question is, what do you do with people in your life who you think are wrong-headed?
Okay.
Right. So that's a very pertinent. I teach on I teach on questions of gender, race, sexuality, oppression, liberation. So this comes up all the time. Students are like, okay, but what do I do with my uncle's brother's cousin who
Right.
said this offensive thing? Do I just go no contact? Like, what do I,
Yeah.
like, what do I do? It's a really difficult question. There's a brand new article that actually, it speaks directly to this.
Yeah.
And so I was able to bring that to my students,
Yeah.
and they were able to say, well, do I do I agree with this? I'm like, I don't know. Do you?
Right? Like, let's work through it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that. You have to decide.
Yeah.
But I can help you understand the article to make that decision, perhaps.
Exactly. And let's talk it through, this really important question that several of you have, but there haven't been academic resources before. And so you just end up kind of talking about it. But now here's an academic resource. It gives you a place to start. And now we can have that conversation with some background. But that's the kind of thing you get when you're taught by a professor who's doing research. And so that's what I love about being an R2. There's both research happening and the teaching is happening by researchers. Which allows these cool moments where I can say, my students have a question. Oh, there's actually an answer to that one. I can bring it to them, and then they can fight about it, because they do. Which is as they should.
Spirit of learning. But.
Exactly. But it's the cutting edge of the field, and I can bring that into the classroom in a very cool way. So.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Well, anything else that you would like to plug or add?
Oh, my goodness.
That you're working on? Any of your centers have upcoming events in the next year? Well,
next year's a lot, but I will say everybody should listen to Hotel Bar Sessions. Please come give us a listen, like and subscribe. I think that's what I'm supposed to say. I know, I don't know.
We'll make sure to have the links in the description for you.
And I would also say that I'm the director of the Center for Legal Studies. It hasn't come up a lot, but I work with a lot of students who are interested in getting into the legal field, going to law school. And please keep an eye out. We are going to be having a lot of events in the spring. So we're going to be having some networking events with sort of local folks who are working in the legal field. We're going to hear from some UCCS students who have gone to law school. They're going to spill the tea on what law school is really like. Please keep an eye out for those.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, Jen, thank you for this conversation. I'm walking away with many things that I'm going to be cycling through in my brain for a while. So I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us all about the innovation and just curiosity that you really bring to this campus and the work that you do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Cool.
Boom.
Hey.
And that's today's journey into innovation. Now, when to explore the research and ideas we mentioned today, everything is linked in the show notes. If you want to be a guest, I'd love to hear your story. Find the submission form at our website, c3innovation.uccs.edu. Innovation Springs is a production of C3 Innovation at the UCCS Kramer Family Library. Studio recording is provided by the Garage at EPIIC. Hayley Blackburn is an affiliate faculty member in the Digital Humanities Center. Theme music is from Simon Trumpf-Lipine, Dreaming of Innovation, Storyblocks. Follow at c3innovation.uccs on social media and check out our website for events, programs, and more opportunities. For more content on the digital humanities, head over to labs.uccs.edu/CREFDH. And for more innovation initiatives, go over to EPIIC.uccs.edu with our friends in EPIIC. See you next episode.